Welcome back to the Always Thinking Mindset channel, where we give you positive vibes and simple rules to achieve your goals. In today's video, we're going to speak on the process of buying a home from beginning to end. Usually it's a convoluted equation, but I'm going to try to break it down as simple as I can. Now, before we get started, I am not a real estate professional or hold any type of license, but before you buy a home, please do your research. It is a big financial transaction, and at the same time, consult with your own professional. And if you like today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you like the channel, you already know what to do. Let's go ahead and dive in. So, the process of buying a home can be easy or hard, right? It depends on the wealth of knowledge that you have and in order to tackle the problem. So, the first rule we get in is research. Why research? Because with research, you're better to attack the problem, especially if you don't know anything about real estate. You don't know how numbers, banks, lenders, what they're looking for. And in this video, I hope to break it down as simple as possible. This is why I made the video. This is for any future investor if you're thinking about buying a home or you're actually just interested and you want to see how the process is to buy a house. Luckily, I recently closed on a house. This is why I'm making the video, because I want to show you all the way from A to Z. And like I said, your biggest first rule is research. When I say research, check the neighborhood that you want to go into. Make sure you do all the comps, you do the research. If you like a neighborhood, please do your research not only in the day, but drive at night. See how the neighborhood is, right? This is actually a big financial transaction. So once you put it in the bid, then and they accept, it's hard to take that back. But do your research in the neighborhood. Also, whenever you're interested in buying a house, you can team up with the realtor, right? A realtor is there to explain comps, which is comparables of what the neighborhood is actually going for, or what that house is actually going for, or what it's worth. Realtors are real good. I mean, you have some okay ones, but you have some real stellar ones that actually want to help you get into the home. Now, with the realtor, they're very experienced, very knowledgeable. And like I said, it's every profession, right? So it depends on what area you're looking for. But if you want to go at it alone, you can, right? I suggest you do your research first on your own. You have plenty of apps out there now, Redfin, Zillow, you name it, right? It does all the work for you so you can see, an approximate amount or what it's going for. Even Zillow has their own Zestimate, which is actually good. It does a mile radius of what that property is going for. So once you shop around, you figure out, I'm looking for a 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, whatever the case is, you know, look at not only, the cosmetic work of it, but look for foundational work. Look for the big ticket items, which I always look for is plumbing, electricity, wires. Is it outdated? What year was it made, right? Because older houses seem to have more problems. So the newer the house, the easier the ride will be when you own the home. But if you have an old house and you had a previous seller that actually fixed it up and shows you receipts, take all that for accountability, because that's going to be the future home that you invest and you're able to see that, right? And whenever you do the research, like I said, you can go to any neighborhood. Obviously, we all want to go to the wealthy neighborhoods or a better neighborhood, but at the same time, sometimes you have to invest in a mediocre uh, house, because at the same time that property value is going to come up, right? It's not big now, but it is in the future. So that's another thing to weigh in. But please do your research. When I say that, as in see what the value is, look at the taxes. It has a tax history. There's plenty of things you can do on different websites that actually make you feel comfortable about the house, which leads me to the next rule is finance, right? Finance, how you're going to get this house. So the way of going about it is, the most common way is to get a loan from a bank, right? It depends, because if you have a credit union, beautiful. If you have a regular bank, beautiful. It doesn't matter. What matters is your credit history. How well connected are you with this bank? Do they trust you, right? Ultimately. But you got to find the money to actually buy the home, right? And that comes with learning APR financing. You got to understand what the interest rates are if they're going up, if they're going down. You got to do your own research as far as what the bank is willing to offer you and how much you should buy a house for, right? Sometimes lenders get in the habit of giving you too much money and you feel that you need to go buy a bigger, better house, and that's not necessarily true. Don't live within your means, right? Just because you get approved for a $2 million house doesn't mean you go buy a $2 million house on a $40,000 salary. That's a big no no. But in the end, like I said, financing is a way to do it. Typically, you have loans, banks, whether it's a fixed rate, look into it, right? Because everything, it depends on variables and other factors, but you can do what's called a 15-year mortgage, or you can do a 30-year fixed mortgage, right? Those are the most common ones. But look into your bank, do your research, compare apples with apples, and try to find finance. Now, you have investors who actually have cash and are willing to negotiate cash, and it beats the banks, right? Obviously, a cash investor will have first dibs on the home, but until you get to that status, you're able to network and actually look into what banks are offering. um, but not only that, think about it like this: banks are your friend, because what happens is they're doing their research in case you miss something, right? They're going to send their own appraiser, they're going to do their own home inspection, which you pay for, but they're doing their due diligence because this is a big lump sum of money that they're willing to invest in you. But in case you default on the property, they get to take back and either resell it or just have it as inventory. So financing is important. Understand the numbers, get your credit history and your credit reports right. Uh, and banks love W 2s. The one thing I always hear from the youngins is, should I quit my job and just do real estate? And the first thing I say, no. You need money to make money, right? And banks love W 2s. They don't like lending to somebody who's just flopping around. They want somebody that has consistent income, right? So they're looking at you whether they should trust you and whether you're able to pay this note, right? They don't. Their banks are not in the business of real estate. They're in the business of lending money and making money off of that money, if that makes sense. So leads me to my last rule, which is, once you found your house, you did your research, you found your lender, they're willing to give you a pre-approval letter or pre-qual letter. Uh, you're good to go, right? You're able to go to the buyer and put in the bid and say, hey, listen, your listing price is this. You can start negotiating numbers. But on top of that, if you get the bid, right, they end up going through, then what happens is there's a waiting period. And in that waiting period is actually underwriting. Underwriting, they're just checking a bunch of boxes that you applied for in the loan, right? Whether you have income, debt to income ratio, you have debt they don't know about, right? They're going to do their proper due diligence on you to make sure you're not lying on the application. But on top of that, everything that you're saying is true. Underwriting can take anywhere from 15 days to 30 days, probably more, depending on how fast you can provide them with documentation. Um, once you get into that underwriting phase, you're given a processor. The processor will be in contact with you and say, "Hey, we need these documents. We need more of this. You stated this, so we need this." Ultimately, in the end, you will get an email or a letter saying, "Hey, you have been approved conditionally based on these conditions." And in the end, I think they pull your credit twice, but at the same time, they want to make sure that you're in the best position you can to afford a home mortgage, right? That's the point of lending the money to you. They don't they don't want to be risky, or lend it to somebody that's just temporarily going to pay the mortgage and then sell it or default or do whatever. But in the end, once it goes through underwriting, comes back, both the buyer and the seller actually agree to the amount. Then it comes the big signing day, which you get with the title company. You can pick your own. Either the bank does it or you can have an agreement. But at the same time, signing day is the last day, which they try to get it to within 30 days on that date. They make you appear at the title company. They give you a stack of documents you need to sign over, which is actually the transaction of the home. And on top of that, you're just sitting there signing away and away and away until either your hand gets tired, or you can actually review documents with them. They'll guide you. But once that's done, that's pretty much it. They give you the keys to the house. They cut the check. Next thing you know, the bank puts a lien on your house, right, saying you owe us, but we trust you because that's the point of underwriting and actually giving you the loan. And you get keys to your brand new house. So in the end, it is a long process, but I tried to simplify everything I could. There's a lot of little variables in there, but don't worry, that's for another video. I just wanted to take time and actually try to guide you to when you're interested, you see a property, what to do next, to get the home. And you got to understand time is of the essence because you might be interested in that home, but then on top of that, 50 other people are interested in that home. So whoever's first to the rat race actually gets the cheese. And depending on what loan type you have or what kind of negotiation, whether you want credits or this is the listing price you're willing to pay, it can speed things along. But in the end, before you make any big financial decision, weigh your options, right? Don't go for the first house that you see and you fall in love with. Go take a few other homes and evaluate them, right? Understand how much they're asking, what are you looking for, what's the layout. It's a lot. It's a lot in between. And when I first bought my first house, it took me about a year to buy the house because not because I was not ready, it's just I did my research properly to understand what I was getting into. So that ends today's video. I hope you took great value from this video. And if you like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't worry, you don't need to be committed. You don't have to subscribe. Just give it a thumbs up because it does help the algorithm. But if you love this channel, which I think you do, you already know what to do. And until next time, we will talk soon.